All right, let's talk about the New Haven Regional. The good, the bad, and the ugly, because there was a lot of ugly, because I sucked. I didn't play well. To start off, I won my first round. I was really excited. I was ready. I was like, I'm going to do so well today. And then I lost my next 2 rounds back to back because of mistakes I made. Absolutely misplayed, got tilted, should have left, should have gone home, and I didn't. So I played fine the rest of the way. Like, I ended up losing in round 7, and then I dropped because I was X3 and I was like, I'm done. I don't care to play anymore. So in general, like, what went wrong? Let's talk about what went wrong. I just got tilted and I didn't play well. I lost my cool in round 2. I had a situation with an opponent that I should have called a judge, let the judge decide. I decided, I just was like, let it go, whatever. I ended up costing me the game. I lost the game because of it. Went to game 2, thought I was gonna be fine. I'm just gonna outplay in the next 2 games. I bricked. I had one of those malice hands where you don't draw enough engine, and I lost. And that was my first loss, and I didn't think I deserved to lose that game. And then I went to the next round and misplayed out my behind and lost again, and oh well. After 3 rounds, I was out of my goal, because to talk briefly about what my goal was, I wanted to go X1, XO, try to win the regional, try to get the deck box, get the mat, which is my goal at every regional, and I just didn't do it, and that bothered me a lot. So, I mean, to backtrack, let's talk about what I actually did. So I played Malice, as I mentioned. I felt like I was really prepared. I liked my list a lot. I thought I made some changes to it since YCS Providence, and I was ready to play. I was feeling really good. I'd won locals the week prior with a similar list, and then I made some changes at the last second based on what I heard some streamers talking about, based on what I saw from what other people were doing. And I got to the event. I didn't really like my list as much as I had liked it from my locals list, and I think it ended up costing me. In general, what I actually did was I cut my imperms from my deck, from YCS Providence, from my locals list, and I put in 2 more Fuuloses and 1 more Cult by the Grave, and it just didn't pan out for me. I think for how I like to play, even if it's not correct for the meta, even if it's not correct for how I should be playing at a high level, I liked the imperms more than I liked the extra 2 Fuuloses, and I didn't see called by all day, so it never mattered. To talk about my matchups, round 1 I played against Ryziel. I played against Fiendsmith Ryziel and I won. Round 2 I played against the Malice Mirror, and like I said, we had a weird situation. I should have called the judge. I didn't. That's on me. In general, in the future, if anybody is ever playing and you get into a sticky situation and you're just like, I have some conflict between myself and my opponent, and this doesn't seem like it's going to be settled, don't just settle it by being like, you know what, whatever, I don't feel like dealing with this. Call a judge, let the judge decide. That's my advice for everybody going forward, and that's what I'm going to do going forward. Round 2, I lost the Mouse Mirror again. I made misplay after misplay. Like, I deserved to lose. My opponent was a great guy. Shout out to him. He deserved it way more than I did. Round 4, I played against Mitsurugi Ryziel. I ended up winning that one. Another great guy. But again, we had some disagreements. We called a judge. We figured it out. We moved on. Like, that's what what I should have done in round 2. Round 5, I played against. Who did I play against in round 5? In round 5, I played against Fiendsmith Ryziel again. I ended up winning that round. Another great guy. And this time, I was in the situation of like, ooh, we made a mistake we didn't continue to keep a legal game state between the 2 of us, and we didn't call a judge, and he did the same thing I did, which was just like, you know what, dude, don't worry about it, move forward. And I ended up winning that game 2-0, and in the long run, as a human, I should have called the judge and been like, look, dude, we didn't maintain the legal game state. This is clearly to my advantage. Let's call a judge, and then we'll have them try to fix it. But to be fair, we were in an irreparable game state, and he just said accept the game state and keep going. And then round 6, I didn't play anybody. My opponent didn't show up. Shout out to Paulie Aronson. I met him while I was waiting. He came down and sat across from me. And I was like, that's not who my opponent is. Am I playing you, Paulie? And he was like, oh, no. I'm just hanging out with my friend. He was a great guy, super nice, super fun to meet him. And then round 7, I played against another Mitsu Raizio, and I misplayed again. I didn't play super well. My hands weren't great. His hands were better than mine. And then I opened Mischief of the Gnomes. Spoiler, I played Mischief of the Gnomes in my side deck this event. And I completely misplayed with it because I never played it before. Which is another piece of advice to people, is like, I wouldn't play cards that you don't have experience with. And you don't have experience within that matchup. I played Mischief of the Gnomes because I heard it was a blowout card against Mitsu Raizio, which is true. It definitely is. But for me, I would have been better off if I was playing D-Barrier, because I would have known the best spot to try to D-Barrier Mitsu Raizio compared to Mischief of the Gnomes, which I was just like, I'll just shotgun it and I'll end their turn, which it was wrong. I was completely wrong. So after that, packed it up and got out of there. So yeah, not my favorite, not my best regional, certainly not my best performances ever, but we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna get ready for what's next, and I'll have a discussion for what's next and what's going on once we get through with the deck profile, which I'm going to go to right now. So as I mentioned, I played Malice this weekend, so let's get into the list. So I played double Dormouse because it's as many as I could play. If I could play 3, I'd play 3, but I can't only play 2. Double White Rabbit, triple March Hare. I made a call to play 1 Chessy Cat, and so some people might say that was a mistake. My logic behind the 1 Chessy Cat is I wanted to play as many 1-card starters in the deck as possible. And Chessy Cat is not a 1-card starter. So I'll show as I go through my deck profile, I'll explain my logic a little bit more. I played 2 Malice and Underground, 1 Terraforming, 1 Gold Sark, and then getting into the Malice cards that are more bricks. 1 Malice in the Mirror, 1 GWC06, and 1 MTP07. So I decided to play the GWC06 because I really expected there to be more Ghost Spells. And I was worried that if I wanted to have more ways to kind of play my game than just relying on the 1 trap and the March Hare. And this is how I prefer to play the deck. This is how I'm going to continue to play the deck going forward, just to be clear. But I can definitely see why you may cut the GWC06 just to try to minimize the amount of bricks that you're going to have in the deck. Malice in the Mirror was fantastic. Like, it's just an imperm in your hand that gets your plays going. I really, really enjoyed having it in my deck, and it definitely helped me in my Fiendsmith Raizio matchups. Next, I played 3 backup Adagnister, which is not technically a 1-card starter, but it is a 1.5 card starter with a normal summon of like a hand trap or any cybers, and with it I played the 1 wizard. Next, and this is where I kind of deviated from a lot of people, I played 3 AI Michu in the main. So technically speaking, AI Michu is a 1-card starter, 1.5 card starter, because it gives you more access to backup. It doesn't play into Droll as well, but it plays into Lancia better. And I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to maximize on the amount of 1-card starters in my deck, as instead of playing more Chessy Cats, I decided to play 3 AI Michu instead. And this is actually in how I'm going to continue to play the deck going forward. If you really disagree with me, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your argument. I would love to hear your say about, the way that the math works out with triple Chessy Cat and the 3 March Hare. That's going to give you your best possible ways to play the game. Like, I thought about it. I really did, but it does feel like a lot of the time in the Malice matchup, you really need extenders that don't conflict with your normal summon. So AI Michu is a extender / starter that doesn't conflict with your normal summon. Where sometimes we're having triple Chessy Cat sometimes clogs your hands with normal summons that make it hard for you to play the game at times. So I wanted to play 5 normal summons. So my 5 normal summons were, in reality, the 1 Chessy Cat, the 2 Dormouse, and the 2 White Rabbit. And I didn't feel like I had a problem with consistency. I've had one game that bricked, but I didn't think that was a problem. I think that was just a one-off type of thing, because the math for my deck said you know, it was a 90% chance, which is similar to what I was playing with some of my Snake Eye lists. That was all of the engine I played. Getting into the non-engine, I played 3 Ash in the main. I think you need to play Ash this format for Charmies. I played 3 Droll in the main because in my opinion, my worst matchup is against Mitsu Raizu. And it's against Mitsu in general. And that's just how I play. Like, I don't know the matchup very well, and that's on me. I need to get better at it. So the Drolls in the main really were to help with that, which I didn't like. And I like Droll, and I'm going to keep playing Droll in the main, but I didn't like playing Droll with the 5 Charmies. So that's part of the reason in the future I'm going to end up cutting the 2 Fuelos in the main. So then I played 2 Bystials. I played a Magna and a Baldrake. I mean, a Magna and a Druis, not a Baldrake, which I like. They were great all day. I'm going to keep these in my list. They're extenders for Malice. They're also hand traps. They're just fantastic cards. And they're also really strong against Mitsu. 2 Fuas. These are going to the side deck, 100%. These are leaving. I already know that. They're a great card. To be fair, I actually might go 3 Fuas in the main instead of playing the 3 Perulias that I played. So these 3 Perulias might go to the... Actually, I think for sure are going to go to the side deck, and I'll move a Perulia back to the main deck. And for the rest of my non-engine, I played Called By, which I already mentioned, and the one of Talents. I love Talents. I'm going to keep this in my main deck for as long as possible. And then I played the best card in the format. I played Triple Dominus Impulse because the card is just tremendous. I wish I'd seen it more. I didn't see it as much as I wanted to. Moving over to the extra deck, I played Double Wing Grebo. After some soul searching, I thought about it, and Double Wing Grebo is correct. If you're playing Malice, you have to play Double Wing Grebo. It comes up a lot. It comes up in some lines. It comes up just in the way that you're playing the game. Double Wing Grebo is the way to go. I played Almirage to help my plays when I need to start with a hand trap, and I played 1 Link Spider to deal with nib. I actually never got nibbed all day, so the Link Spider never came up, but I still think it's worth playing in the deck, and I like playing the 4 Link ones. Next, I played Dark, another card that never came up because my Malice Mirrors, I just got smoked, which is on me. I need to play better. If I hadn't gotten smoked, I think the Dark would have been a fantastic card. I need more practice in the mirror. Splash Mage, which was tremendous all day. Wicked, which is Wicked, it's part of your combo. Little Knight, which never came up, but SP Little Knight is my favorite card of all time, so I think it's going to be in every deck I play. And then Lizardos. Lizardos came up a lot. I used it a lot, especially if I was afraid. So if I was afraid of like a hand trap, and I was afraid of like the line I was going for, because I felt like my opponent had a lot of cards in their hand, I would make the Lizardos over the Splash Mage, because I wanted the Lizardos because it plays through Ghost Spell better. That was something I was concerned about a lot. I played, obviously, the 3 links, White Binder, Red Ransom, and Heart Scripter. Red Ransom has become really, really important. But I think, and I really tried to play around Charmies by setting up half boards, and those just never worked. So I think in the future, I'm going to practice just like if I get Charmied or double Charmied, just going full tilt and just going full into it and seeing what happens and seeing it like, you know what, I'm playing Malice, I'm going to build a huge board, you try to break it. I know the push is in your deck, and if you can break it, go for it. If you can't, you can't. The 1 Firewall, which didn't really come up. I don't think I made Firewall once. It's kind of like an extra piece that if you like, it's just a utility piece really, and I don't think I would cut it for anything. I really just, there's nothing better in my mind than to play a Firewall. Maybe you could play a second Splash Mage. I played the 1 Bomber Dragon, which came up a lot, made the Bomber Dragon a lot, and then the best card in Malice, it's not a Malice name, is the Access Code Talker. Just a tremendous card. Moving on to my side deck, I played, and this is what I thought this was the best card in my side by far. I played 3 Thrust. I thought Thrust was tremendous. It's great this format. I would recommend anybody to test it out. There's so many Charmies flying around. If I thought I could main Thrust, I would main it, because you're gonna get Charmied in the draw phase. You're gonna get Charmied in the standby phase. You might get Charmied in the main phase. It turns your Thrust live. It just becomes such a powerful card. If there's a Malice player that tries to play on turn 0, and you're able to Thrust, You can thrust for talents and turn your plays on. I played a game at my locals where I was playing against a friend of mine, and he went thrust. And he, tried to turn zero me with the malice names, and I was dead in the water. And I had thrust, and I thrust into talents, took his malice name, and went full combo. And because of how punishing this card can be to your opponent, I would absolutely recommend playing 3 of it. Some people don't agree with me. My opponent and I, after round 2, had a really nice conversation about how I felt about thrust, and his team felt that it wasn't worth playing at this format, and I personally disagree. Now, mind you, I think he did much better at the tournament than I did, but I just think that thrust is such a powerful card because it's always going to be live, and the fact that you're always going to be live and have access to darn near any card in your deck just seems super strong. Then I played 2 Solemn Strike. This is getting cut to move Charmies into the side, and then to put Imprims back in the main, and then 1 Mischief of the Gnomes, which I think I'm going to cut. I think I'm going to go back to D-Berry. I think I like D-Berry a lot more. Just another thrust target. The other thrust target for traps that I played was Artifact Sanctum to help in the Malice matchup. For my 2 cards going second with thrust, along with the talents in the main, I played Duster and I played Lightning Storm. Duster was actually underwhelming. I had it a fair amount, and it wasn't super impactful. There just wasn't as much back row as I expected compared to last format. Lightning Storm I never saw, even in situations where I could have gotten Lightning Storm, I chose not to. Then I played the extra Fua and 2 Meows. I decided to play 2 Meows over the Phantasme just because I like the Meows a lot more in this to try to charmy people. I thought it came up a lot more in different matchups than the Phantasme. If I was going to do it again, I still think I'd play the Meows. I'm not gonna lie. And then finally, last 3 cards in the side were Artifact Lancia. You gotta play it. It's Malice format. You gotta play Lancia. If you're not playing Lancia, I don't know what you're doing. You're behind because you're in Rhoda format. That's how behind you are if you're not playing Lancia. Sorry, literally behind. Let's get back to talking about what's going to happen next. All right, so what's next? What's in the future for the Clash Room YGO, or the Clash Rom YGO? If anybody's seen the back of my Gilt Leaf Gaming jersey, and it's the NAWCQ. I don't think there's any in-person regionals between today and the NAWCQ. And with that said, that means that the primarity of my practice is going to be at locals. As I think I mentioned, I don't really play on DB a lot. Maybe I'll have to test it out. And what am I going to be looking for the NAWCQ going forward? And primarily it's going to be Malice. So Malice is the strongest deck I own. It's one of the decks I really enjoy playing. I don't think there's going to be any deck that's going to get me away from Malice to the point where I'm not going to be bringing it to Indianapolis. So I think, generally speaking, this is going forward. This is what I'm going to be playing. To touch on the decks that I'm going to be experimenting with and the decks that I'm going to be looking at to get ready for the NAWCQ. Fire King. So if you've been on this channel before, you know I'm an avid Fire King player. I love the deck. I got my first regional top with Azmina Fire King, Snake Eyes, and so it's one of my decks I really hold close to my chest. I play it a lot on the channel. I'm probably gonna be playing it later for next week's videos. So I'm gonna be testing that out, but I just don't think that deck is consistent enough right now. And if maybe in the future, if it gets another starter, we might be looking at Fire King as of itself as an independent deck that I could look at for serious events, but I just don't think it is right now, especially with how strong Malice is. And then Orcust. So in case you don't know, I played Orcust on the channel before. I have a full Orcust core for pure Orcust. So when the new Orcust Sport comes out, I will be testing it. I will be looking at it and seeing if that's a deck that is, is it something that I want to play instead of playing Malice at the NAWCQ. And right now I don't think so, right? From what I understand about the deck, from how I've played it before, even with the new Link 1 to be able to set up the trap and Babel, it just loses the same thing that Malice does, and it has such an insane grind game, but so does Malice. But it doesn't have the same pop to it that Malice does. So it just doesn't seem like the right deck for me going into that format. But we'll see if there's a ban list before the NAWCQ, which I don't expect, and it hits Malice really hard. Mayhaps I'll have to turn it around. I'll have to find something new. I'll need to be flexible. And the last one that's kind of a dark horse that I really don't know about yet because I don't own the cards is Mitsurugi. I'm interested in the Mitsurugi cards. They remind me a lot about how Rescue Ace played and how it had spells that made it seem like it could play through everything, and sometimes it played through nothing. So that's going to be a deck I look at. It also plays Impulse, and I love Impulse. It's one of my favorite cards. And then finally, and I might have said Mitsurugi finally, but I think the last deck truly finally, shout out to Pac for winning with this, is I do want to take out Memento. You know, I love combo decks. They're my favorite decks to play in general. And I don't own any of the Memento cards. I probably won't be buying any of the Memento cards because if I buy another Yu-Gi-Oh deck, my wife is going to kill me. Same reason I probably won't be playing Mitsurugi, even though I could borrow that from friends of mine. But it's just another deck that is very strong, very combo heavy, very engine heavy. Decks I prefer playing tend to be very engine heavy decks, trying to break through boards with just engine, trying to set up boards, and that's just how I generally like to play. But I don't know. And it's probably not going to happen. There's probably not going to be any Classroom YGO Memento games anytime soon. That's it. You know, those are my thoughts. That was everything I have to say. Shout out to my little sister. Shout out Madeline. It was her birthday on Sunday. I apologize for missing it. Based on how I did, I should have just gone. I should have just skipped the regional. But we know for next time. Tell you that much. And for me, that's the Classroom YGO signing off. I'll see you guys next time.